What's going on, everyone? Hope you're having a solid spooky month. Today, we are here to talk about Mieruko-chan, the story of a young girl who unfortunately sees a lot of ghosts and poltergeists, and she is trying to figure out what to do with her life with this being the case. Now, as you can imagine, if you have the ability to see dead people when no one else does, that is going to bring a little bit of distress. And what surprised me the most about Mieruko-chan was the levity that the series had with the concept, because this could easily be an absolute dank, dark, depressing, wet blanket of a manga if mangaka Tomoki Izumi decided to make it so. But rather than making it this complete, dark, and foreboding experience, he decides to add a mix of fan service and humor that gives Mieruko-chan a really unique vibe that I appreciated. So the series is actually somewhat episodic. There are little story threads here and there that continue, such as quest to find prayer beads that'll allow her to keep the demons at bay, hopefully, and give her a little bit of reprieve, because the story truly revolves around Miko's sudden realization one day that she exists and there are spirits amongst her. One day, she looks into a mirror and she just notices the most grotesque, terrifying, demonic-looking entity behind her, and she wants to either die and run for her life, but she has this fear deeply rooted somewhere in the depths of her heart that if she acknowledges this thing exists, it's going to consume her and her soul will be lost. So rather than admitting that she's seeing these ghosts and demons and entities floating everywhere, she decides, you know what, I'm gonna pretend they're not here. The manga consists of Mieruko-chan trying to go about daily activities like brushing her teeth, hanging out with friends, attending school, talking with family. All the while, these ghosts and monsters are mocking her, trying to conversate with her, and overall doing what terrible, haunting ghosties do, while she is trying to not freak out the people around her, not look like she has paranoid schizophrenia, and survive despite her distinct awareness of the world around her that nobody else seems to have. My favorite part of this series definitely ended up being Izumi's monster designs. He does such a good job of creating these terrifying, awful things that are just your sleep paralysis monsters that you see in the corner of your mind when you're having like a really bad dream or you're laying in bed, and bringing those worst fears to life. And much of the enjoyment of the manga comes from page turns where you're sitting there thinking, oh my god, what kind of BS is Miko going to have to deal with next? And lo and behold, every time there is something gross and awful waiting for her. But Izumi's inspired designs keep it from getting boring. I think a lesser character designer or writer would have found this story falling flat, but Izumi's understanding of comedic timing combined with his dark and creative imagination creates this twisted, hilarious dynamic between the audience and Miko, where on the one hand, you want her to be free of her suffering, but on the other, you can't help but be curious as to what she's going to find next and how she's going to react to the next gross thing that she comes upon. So far, I haven't found the story super impressive, but I've only made it through the first volume, right? At the very end of volume 1, there is a little bit of twist that makes me wonder, oh, I wonder if this thing's going to start getting a little bit deeper. So I can't fully give you guys a picture of the complete narrative and how complex or not complex that it gets. But even if it stayed completely in the genre of comedy horror like it is now, if you are a fan of horror movies or this type of media, I think you're going to find something to like with Mieruko-chan. The series definitely jumps into a lot of horror tropes, but Izumi is a talented enough writer to be able to subvert audience expectations and create little twists on common situations that keep the story from feeling stale or tired. Miko's deadpan delivery really sells a few scenes, and she's easy to connect with, helping the reader to put themselves in her shoes, leaving you thinking, okay, if I was in this situation, how the hell would I react to seeing this headless monstrosity in front of me without seeming like I'm an absolute lunatic in public? Mieruko-chan is a lot of fun. Art and character designs are fantastic. The writing is surprisingly funny, especially considering the subject matter, and the story may even have more going on than first meets the eye. So with that being said, grab your backpack, look in the mirror, pretend you don't see anything, and run to your nearest bookstore to grab a copy of Mieruko-chan by Tomoki Izumi, a story you're not going to want to miss.